In this video, I'm going to share with you how to prevent condensation and ice buildup in your tent. When you're camping in cold conditions, and especially the winter, condensation buildup inside of a tent and ice buildup can be real misery. I'm going to give you 5 tips plus bonus material on this. This question was submitted by a reader or a subscriber, hopefully, Ryan Arafin or Arafin. Hopefully I didn't mangle your name. But Ryan, here's Ryan's question. Do you have any tips on how to prevent condensation within your tent when cold weather camping? My tent is a cheap single wall tent with just one layer of nylon fabric, no rainfly. I'd guess that something like the MSR Hubba behind me with an inner mesh layer wouldn't have a problem like this. I've never had a heavy-duty expedition tent, but I imagine the condensation in mountain conditions similarly would be a problem. Ryan, thank you very much for the question. Here's some answers. So this is actually a real challenge for people because when you wake up and your tent is completely soaked inside, that means your gear, your puffy coat, your down bag, everything is going to get soaked. So here are 5 tips to help you avoid condensation issues. The first is keep the door open. What? Literally keep the door open. Now, does that mean fully unzipped so it's blasting and no problem? No. But if you have a door on your tent that has a top style hatch where it zips open, literally unzip quite a bit, maybe a foot, even 30 centimeters of your door so it completely hangs open. Now that completely flies in the face of keep the door closed because it's bad, but trust me, that is a huge factor in the tent condensation is because once you fully seal up your tent, and your tent is relatively waterproof, it's nylon, where is the transpiration from your body and the moisture from your breath going to go? That's right, it's going to coat the entire inside of your tent. And that is a major factor of why your tent actually gets soaked in the first place. I know it sounds stupid to unzip a tent when it's freezing cold outside, but keeping that door unzipped works. This MSR particular Hubba has a diagonal style zipper rather than a hatch zipper for the door. So what I do is I unzip a good 1 foot or 30 centimeters of that door and maybe prop it open just so it opens up, and that makes a big difference. By the way, I have woken up even doing all these techniques with the inside of my mesh in the MSR covered in ice. The second factor to consider is keep the vents open, not just the door, but the vents. In my Hilleberg tent, I've got vents in the front and the back in addition to the door, and I keep those vents unzipped at all times unless there's a literal Arctic or Antarctic storm blasting, and even then I will keep it a little unzipped just to prevent that condensation. Same thing in my super cheap big box store Coleman tent. I never, quote unquote, never ever fully zip up the back window. In fact, I leave that thing maybe 1.5 feet or 45 centimeters completely unzipped, folded in, just to let the breeze move in and out. That makes a big difference in my experience. Tip number 3, completely ditch the tent and go with a tarp instead. Integral Design, Sill Nylon Tent, hopefully you can read it there. I tarp camp traditionally, and I do actually tarp camp in the winter. Hopefully I'll remember to put a link below telling you and showing you literally that me tarp camping at minus 15 degrees in northwest Wyoming. Woo boy. Now, in the tarp, I have never, quote unquote, never had condensation on my gear, on my sleeping bag, or anything. The condensation falls onto the tarp and the breeze blows in and out. Ray Jardine's book was A Trail Life. Boy, he talks about, he is an absolute tarp evangelist, and he is never wet ever. Even in winter, as long as there isn't bad weather, this tarp is a great way to prevent condensation in the tent because it simply is no tent. So instead of having to unzip doors and mess around and hope that you have something working, the tarp actually is the ultimate, because all it does is protect you from rain, precipitation, snow, and falling condensation that will soak you and your gear. The next thing, and stay tuned for tip number 5 at the end of the video, because there is a critical point of how people cause a lot of condensation in their tent. But tip number 4, okay, so you've got condensation, it's happened. What do you do about that? Especially if it's freezing up, which it normally does. I mean, every morning I've had to do this in Yellowstone, on Denali, Kilimanjaro even, because it was cold. I don't know, all sorts of places. So winter camping, your cup is the magic to preventing you and me and my sleeping bag and whatever else from getting soaked. Mission number 1, as soon as I get up and I relieve myself, is I do not get out of my sleeping bag immediately. Instead, what I do is I take my camp cup, whatever that does, or wherever that might be, and I'm sleeping in my tent, and what I do is I take that cup and the frost that covers the entire tent, I literally do this. And I begin scraping off the ice and frost and filling my cup. Now, of course, once your cup gets somewhat full of frost and ice, trust me on this one. Put it outside in your vestibule and knock that frost out, no matter how cold it is. Minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 33 degrees Celsius. Take the time, put on your jacket, stick your arm out of your sleeping bag, cover your face, because it's going to give you a wonderful snow shower, and simply begin scraping off the ice and the frost until your tent is basically frost-free. And as soon as you do that and you sit up and you start messing around in your tent, all of a sudden the frost is gone. Your tent is dry because it's been cold enough to freeze the condensation that has built up, and no problem. A lot of times a frost rime will build up on your tent wall, and man, it falls on your face or you get your puffy coat wet. That sucks. And tip number 5, critical while you've stayed here this entire time, is when at night you are cooking, do not let your pot go to a rolling boil. Now, there's a health reason why you want to boil the water, so it kills any bacteria and baddies in it. But the moment it's boiling, there's a transition between slightly boiling and rolling boiling and generating steam. The moment your pot is boiling and steam is puffing out, where do you think all that steam is going? That's right, into your down and all over your tent. By the way, I do talk about this in my book, Adventure Expedition 1, link below in the description. Check it out. It talks a lot about managing those issues. So hopefully this has been very helpful for the 5 tips to prevent condensation in your tent. My name is Aaron Linsdau. I am a polar explorer and professional adventurer. Please check out links in the description to my books: Antarctic Tears, Lost at Windy Corner, Adventure Expedition 1, How to Keep Your Feet Warm in the Cold, The Jackson Hole Hiking Guide, The Most Crucial Knots to Know, and my 2024 Total Eclipse Guides, as well as check out my show, Antarctic Tears and World Beyond. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you can get more of this good stuff.